guys, my name is Gabriel. Welcome back to my channel. And I'm going to be doing my natural disasters series, the third episode of it. Now, of course you guys know that I did episode 1 and episode 2, but I am going to be talking about, this time, not tsunamis, not Yellowstone, but if they're... Okay, what I'm going to be talking about right now is a natural disaster that is not common at all. Very deadly. Kills thousands of people each time it happens. I am talking about a volcanic eruption at Mt Rainier. Mt Rainier is a very large volcano. It's 14,411 feet tall and covered in snow and ice. It is super explosive, and it has about 150,000 people in its shadow to the northwest. 60 miles to the northwest of Mt Rainier is the city of Seattle. Now, if you're in Seattle, you can just look to the southeast and see Mt Rainier. Now, if you it has multiple towns to the north of it. Now, there are cities such as like Ording, like Tacoma, Enumclaw, Kent, the Puyallup River Valley has a lot of people. It has many cities around it that would be damaged when it erupts, with resulting mud flows called lahars. Now, it's not a very good eruption that would occur. So, I am going to be talking about the eruption of Mt Rainier. And the eruptions of Mt Rainier, because of how deadly it is actually able to be accurately portrayed. It begins on a clear spring morning when the seismographs at Mt Rainier roar to life. There's an earthquake measuring 5.2 on the Richter scale at Mt Rainier. It starts to rapidly shake, and then eventually people around Mt Rainier would hear a faint but terrifying, like blood-curdling but faint blast near Mt Rainier. They would turn their heads toward see the eruption column climbing into the sky, and it would be and then pyroclastic flows would race down the flanks, and then which is a turning mixture of gas, ash, rock, and debris, which could be at like 550 degrees or even more. And they would race down the flanks. One of the flows would hit the national park's lodge. It would rip the national park lodge off its foundation and literally burn it. It would literally burn it till it was disintegrated. The ash column reaches 5 miles into the air and is visible in Seattle, 60 miles away. Sparks ignite a couple forest fires in the national park, but the ash isn't what the greatest danger is, nor is it the eruption. 450,000 residents are in grave danger by one of the least recognized of all the volcanic hazards: a creeping, deadly mud flow. The pyroclastic flow reaches 500 degrees Fahrenheit, melting a lot of snow. Afterwards, it dissipates. And that's all it takes to start a disaster of biblical proportions. Hot water would then start funneling down chutes and churn through mud and debris. The hot sludge would shear off slabs of ice and melt them in the process. It would pick up rocks and and rocks and snow and melt the snow in the process. It would devour wet soil and mix with it in the valley sides. And it would grow in size, speed, and power as it would head towards the half-dozen towns below the mountain. And in the valleys, warning sirens would start to screech as residents start to jam all the two-lane highways for the cities leading to safety. Some residents have to flee on foot, those who have to, and those who can run. Those who cannot run but have to flee on foot and are in the path of the Lahar could die. And with a roar, the Lahar, which is the mud flow, slams into the Puyallup River Valley. As it rolls into the small town of Orting, the torrent of dirty water is up to 30 feet high. It swallows homes, businesses, and schools. The torrent of water keeps on going and then only stops when it races through the city of Tacoma. It stops only when it plunges into Puget Sound, which the ports of Seattle are in Puget Sound, 60 miles away. And the death toll would reach up to probably 22,000, while the cost of the price of it would equal $11,000. And also, this may seem like a nightmare scenario, but catastrophic eruptions are nothing new in the western part of the country. On May 18th, 1980, Mount St. Helens, only 50 miles to the southwest of Rainier, exploded out of its, and the blast was equivalent to 100, to 50, I don't know, 50 megatons, making it 5,000 times more powerful than the nuclear bomb Little Boy dropped on Hiroshima. The eruption sliced 1,300 feet off the top of the mountain, leaving a crater 1 mile wide, 2,000 feet deep, and the crater doesn't have a northern wall, while it leaves the mountain behind, 8,363 feet tall. 57 people lost their lives, and 370 square miles were devastated. 230 by the blast out the north side of the mountain, and 150 were devastated by the Lahars, while 230 devastated by the blast on the north flank. And something similar to that will happen at Mt. Rainier, except none of the blast will come out the side. It'll all come out the top, while parts of the column will collapse and then race down the mountain. And it is a burning avalanche, and it is now known as a pyroclastic flow. And also, catastrophic eruptions are nothing new on the North American plate, because it's nothing new on the North American plate, like the North American and the Atlantic Ocean plate, because in the Atlantic Ocean, on the Atlantic plate, on the Caribbean island of Montserrat, the volcano Soufriere Hills roared to life in 1997. It exploded ash and gas, rock, and debris up to 50,000 feet into the air. It then started to spread out while parts of the column would collapse and race down the flanks of the mountain. The third pyroclastic flow that went down that same valley, just to halfway down the mountain, the valley that it went down makes a distinctive turn to the right. And at that bend, there is signs of severe scorching across the farming plains of Pharaoh's Yard. It's evidence of an event rarely witnessed. It's evidence of a pyroclastic surge. A pyroclastic surge is when in the pyroclastic flow, the rock breaks apart, releasing superheated gases into the mixture. The gas released by the rocks breaking apart rides on top of the flow like a white-hot hurricane, literally scorching and twisting everything in its way. And that white-hot hurricane on top of it is the pyroclastic surge. Pyroclastic flows usually get from 500 to 550 degrees Fahrenheit, while the surges can get from 550 to 1,000 to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit to maybe even 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And it would with Super Air Hills, when the surge hit that bend, instead of turning, it broke away from the flow and headed straight across the farming plains of Pharaoh's Yard. A pyroclastic surge is very rare, but on Mt Rainier, because of how violent explosions are, it's possible that the pyroclastic flows, the rock could break apart and create a pyroclastic surge on top of it, which would be absolutely devastating. Now, pyroclastic surges can melt windows, melt paint, twist and scorch vegetation and fence posts, and it can melt roofing tiles and many other things. So, back to Mt Rainier. When Mt Rainier erupts, because it has 35 square miles of snow and ice on top of it, which would melt after the pyroclastic flows evaporate. So then the lahars would start racing down the mountain, picking up all the snow and ice in its way, melting it and mixing with it as it goes down the mountain and races through the towns. And then instead of hitting Seattle, all of the parts of the lahar join and then turn towards Tacoma, hit it, and then plunge into Puget Sound. Now, this actually does sound like a nightmare scenario, but it's not. It's real. Now, how do you protect yourself from it? Simple. When the volcano blows, as soon as you know it blows, don't waste any time. Round up your family. If you live in any of the cities within a 59-mile radius of Mt Rainier, and you don't and you are and you live in it, don't waste any time and get the hell out. Just don't waste any time. Just get the heck out of there. Oh my god, my cut is itchy. And you would need to it's just crazy. It would be a mad eruption, and the death toll could reach 22,000, which is absolutely mad for an eruption. Now, you guys saw my my last two videos, probably. I don't know, but wait, just a sec. What's the cat doing? What are you doing, cat? Really? The cat's being crazy. One of them, at least. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the links in the description to those two videos of my last two natural disaster series videos. And what am I doing? So, remember my Q&A videos? You can ask me questions in the comment section, and I would most likely answer them on my video. And also, I have the stories from my fan series also, and you guys could leave with my questions, you guys could leave your stories in the comment section below. So, anyways, I've told you how to survive Mount Rainier eruption, what will happen. So I have another question for you. What is the the weirdest time you've ever seen someone in, like, getting scared. Let me know in the comments section below, and you might be featured in one of my videos. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye!